Okay, my talk is about managers are not that stupid. And this is really a concern of me because I know I'm a freak on a developers conference, but I still think that somehow management is an important stuff, especially for teams, and that's what my talk will be about. So this is a team, and this is a trick question. Who's a manager here? Any guesses? Yeah, your guess would be? Who's a manager in that picture? All of them. Okay, so let's see who, so you can't really tell. Let's have a look at that. Why I'm talking about management is I've worked since 25 years in Agile transformation. I started as an architect, so a long time ago I developed. I'm a founder of wibas, which is a 100-person consulting company for Agile transformations. And so I call myself a developer, just a developer of social systems, so of people organizations. And I've did a lot of publications on change management, Scrum, Agile, and Scaled Agile. And if you want to reach me, there is the email, which you can use. So that's me, and some publications and certifications and stuff like that. But what we do at wibas is that we improve the way we work and the way we do business. What we do is we coach teams, we develop Agile organizations, we facilitate Agile transformations, and we are really open to anything Agile. So sometimes I think we are a jack of all trades. We love Kanban and we love Scrum. We take patterns from safe and we take them from less. And we even do flight levels. Because as Lars will say later on, we need guns, lots of guns. Yeah, there's not one silver bullet. And that's why we are really open to anything. And we think when we do Agile organizations, we really need to pick and choose what suits us. And the clients which we have is really broad. We build cameras and cars and musicals and yes, software too. So the pictures you've just seen, the camera, the car, and this is the circus, all clients. So it's all the human DNA here.
Yes, no, maybe? Okay.
Okay, I think this is a different talk. This is interesting. Is it 1 or 3? 1, which is fine. Let's see. So this is where I come from. And with all these different clients, with all these different environments, what I have learned is that teams are the nucleus of Agile organizations. And not just the nucleus of the Agile organizations, but actually of Agile management and leadership. And this is why I'm really passionate about this, because I think when we want to build Agile organizations, we need to tackle this management and leadership thing. And I think we need the teams to do that. And I think we do have a problem here, because when I prepared for this speech, I came across an article of Steve Denning and Forbes, and I quote now, he said, or he wrote, he didn't say that, he wrote it, 88% of the people reported tensions between the way Agile and Scrum teams are managed in their organization and the way the rest of the organization is managed. And is anyone here who's feeling you have that problem? Yeah, right. So I think there is a problem out there and we need to solve it. Now we could of course say, yeah, but that's not the team's problem, that's the organization's problem. And I think that is where the problem starts. So having said that, I first tried to make a little bit foundations into my presentation. So I looked up what is Agile and what is management and what is leadership. I tried to get this straight. So first, the definition of Agile. Agile is delivering what customers want. So if they want a car, we're building that car. And as Henrik just said, listening to the customer, what he really wants. But that would be just lean. So what's the difference between Agile and lean? The difference is that Agile is being responsive in a complex environment. And complex means we have a lot of uncertainty. So it's kind of like new technology coming up, which we need to build into the product or maybe not. Or it is customers wanting a car, and when they see it, they're saying, hey, I didn't want that kind of car, I want it different. Yeah, and being kind of happy and saying, yeah, let's do that. That's kind of like being responsive in a surprising environment. And that is agility, building what customers want and being flexible to the surprises which we have. So this is Agile, and I wanted to put this in the front because very often Agile is kind of like everything. Yeah? It's kind of like, oh yeah, today I decided something different, so I'm Agile, which is really bogus. So that's the definition of Agile. Then I tried to look up what is leadership. And I went to the usual suspects. I went to the university, Southern University in the US, and I went to the Harvard University and looked it up. So that's the definition. Leadership establishes the mission, vision, and strategy of the organization. So I tried to put this into drawings, probably almost as good as Hendrik's drawings. This is, okay, leadership is saying where we want to go, setting objectives or goals. But it's not only that. It's also, second sentence, leadership offers ongoing clarity to ensure what the objectives that align with the strategy are transparent. So kind of like here having that line when we go towards our goal, kind of like offering transparency, saying, yeah, this is going towards a goal, and no, this isn't. Yeah, no, we shouldn't go there because this is not leading towards our objectives or towards our goals. So leadership is two things, right? It's kind of like setting the goal and also ensuring that when we go there to the goal, that we kind of like have guardrails saying yes or no. Make sense? Yeah, so this is leadership. Management is different. Management, it says, is organizing tasks, people, and time to accomplish those set objectives in an effective and efficient manner. So it's kind of like deciding how we get there, yeah, within the guardrails towards the goal which we have set. Make sense? Okay, so, and then managers and leaders, that's pretty easy, yeah, are the people who manage or lead. So that's pretty easy. Okay, that was the definition part. Now, of course, we have that people saying, yeah, but we don't have leaders or managers in agile organizations. We get rid of all that management and leadership thing. And I don't think that is true, because we need to set objectives where we want to go. And we also need to make sure that while we go there, we have a certain transparency of, or in order to make decisions, are we really heading towards the goal, or are we heading somewhere else? And I think, of course, we need to make decisions about how we get there. So if we look at the Scrum guide, it does say that. So it's no surprise. Hey, it's still in there. Scrum guide says, and now it's really a quote, Scrum teams are self-managing, meaning they decide who does what, when, and how. And this is just the definition of management which we had from the Harvard University. It's kind of like deciding, well, if we have a goal or an objective, how do we get there? And it calls it self-management. So managers are actually all the people in the Scrum team. That's why it's called self-management. So who is now a manager here? All managers by this definition? And the rest not working? Or just not wanting to raise the hand? Whatever. Yeah, but obviously most people in agile organization are managers. That makes sense because we don't want to be managed by some guy or some gal. But the point is also, if we want to be responsive, that was the goal of agility at the beginning. If we want to be responsive, we need to put decisions as much as possible to the front line, to where decisions can be made quickly and fast. Yeah, that's why we have this idea of self-management. It's not because, I don't think it's because we want to be nice. I think it's because we want to be responsive. So, management is coded into the Scrum guide, and it says even one second sentence, which I think is often overlooked. Scrum guide says, developers hold each other accountable. So it's not only self-management in terms of I, myself, as a person, manage myself, but it is the team manage it itself and be responsible for each other. So it's really managers as a team. Yeah, so, dear managers, there you are. So stop bashing all the managers. So far, so good? Makes sense? Good. Okay, perfect. And then there's another sentence in Scrum Guide. You know, I keep quoting that stuff. The product owner is accountable for the product backlog, including product backlog goal and product backlog items. Well, this is just making kind of saying, well, product owner is the leader for that objective. Objectives being the product goal or the product backlog. And it also says about things about providing transparency while we go there, because, well, leadership was about setting goals and providing transparency, guardrails while we go there. So welcome, there's a leadership person. Hey, great. So the managers didn't go away. We just made the team the managers. And leadership also didn't go away. We even have a specific perspective in Scrum saying that this is really an important task that needs to be done. And then there comes another guy or gal, Scrum Master, and they say Scrum Masters are true leaders. Jesus Christ, all this leadership. Yeah, they're accountable for the Scrum team's effectiveness. They serve the product owner, the Scrum team, and the organization. Now, if that is not leadership, I don't know what leadership is. So long story short, welcome leaders to lean leadership built into Scrum. It's no wonder it's built into Scrum, because at the beginning of Scrum that it says, hey, Scrum is standing on the shoulders of lean. So yes, of course it's built into it. This is a pretty old book. And it says, well, lean leadership is made of 4 things. First, develop yourself, which always is a good idea. And then it says, well, develop and coach others. It says lean leadership includes support Kaizen. And it says, well, lean leadership means create vision and align goals. And now we can already probably map the Scrum roles or Scrum perspectives to these responsibilities of lean leadership. Develop and coach others, and support Kaizen is probably more to the Scrum Master side. And then the create vision and align goals probably is more about what the product owner is doing. Yeah, but basically that lean leadership itself is part of Scrum. So if we make it really kind of like down to earth, well, next. If you really sum it up, it kind of like says, well, self-management is the whole Scrum team, and then we have two leadership persons. One is responsible for setting the goal and aligning how we get there, and the other leadership person is about helping the team grow and become more effective. Right? So, management and leadership is not gone. It's really there, rooted in the team. I think that is the key point. So if we want to have agile organizations, at least with Scrum. Now, of course, who's using Kanban instead of Scrum? There are some Kanban people. So perfect. Now, here's a quote I put into your mouth. I'm not sure if you like the quote. You can say you think otherwise. But very often I hear the word, yeah, you know, because of all these roles and Scrum and this artifacts, I hate Scrum. It's too much of a framework. So in Kanban, we don't have that shit. Right? Kanban is all about flow. Here is the flow of Kanban. Kanban is this upstream flow, ordering what we could work on, setting objectives. And it's downstream. Once we have committed stuff, we make sure it gets out of the door as fast as possible. This is flow thinking. So Kanban is all about flow, not about roles and structure and stuff like that. Really. The service request manager is responsible for understanding the needs of customers and for selecting and ordering work items. Alternative name is product owner. Quote from Essential Kanban Condensed. Yeah, screw you. Still there. Maybe because this leadership is important. So we don't get away with it. You never will get away with it. As long as you have an organization that tries to make money, or at least to make a living, not to make money, but to make a living and to satisfy customers, we need to understand customer goals and deliver it. So we need leadership. It won't go away whatever we do. And the Scrum Master thingy, yeah, again, quote, the service delivery manager is responsible for the flow of work and for facilitating meetings. Alternative name is Flow Master. Now it's already pretty close to the Scrum Master, and I even like it better because the Scrum Master, we very often think he's responsible for Scrum, which is stupid. He's responsible for the team and effectiveness, and Scrum maybe a little bit. He's probably, even a Scrum Flow Master would be much better thinking. And even if you look back at this flow idea of Kanban, you probably already see how much Kanban and Scrum are on the same page. Because upstream is nothing but the product owner's work. Upstream is deciding product backlog items, what could we work on? And then we have the Scrum planning, the sprint planning, where we have that commitment point. And that commitment point, by the way, only goes to the sprint goal and not to the product backlog items, because they're pulled item by item, just like in Kanban, because Kanban here is still there. And downstream, getting this shit out of the door, that's Scrum Master. So, somehow, even if you take the Kanban, or whatever view you take, Scrum or Kanban, you come up with the same result. Leadership is still there. So welcome leaders in Kanban. Just sorry you're called manager. Yeah, because it was service delivery manager and service request manager. But long story short, agile organizations are built upon teams that take responsibility for management and leadership. And I want to add, in good and in bad times. Yeah, because management and leadership also includes the tough decisions. As Henrik said, it includes for a product owner a lot of no's. Probably 90% of the decisions you make as a product owner is a no. And that is a tough decision. And the same holds true for the Scrum Master or maybe the team. If a person returns and has been ill, and maybe because he has been overworked, so we need to kind of like go behind the problem. Why was he overworked? What's the issue there? Yeah, or maybe we have a person that is not performing in the team as we want. And if we take self-management and leadership in the team, honestly, we need to solve it there and not go to some person who put that problem away. Yeah, so it's really also the tough decisions which include management and leadership in a team, if we mean it. So this was the first part, kind of like teams being the nucleus of this agile organization. So far so good? Makes sense? Happy now or kind of like discouraged? That's kind of probably a little both. Because I personally think that sometimes this is really good because it feels, yeah, we are own path, own destination, we can decide things. And sometimes it's really the decisions you think, I don't want to be here today. And they still need to be done. I would like to look a little bit also, not just as a team itself, but we could of course say, yeah, but beyond the team. Yeah, management is what happens beyond the team. But I still think that this is connected to the teams. So most organizations have more than one team to do things together. And when you listen to Lars Cruz later on, he will say that's not true. He says we should only have organizations that have the size of the team, and after that we should stop. His view. I don't agree, because I think there's a lot of things to do where we need more than one team. I put some examples here. Left-hand side, so many customers. We have one client who is a call center, and they have so many calls, no way 7 persons could handle that. It's rather 100 persons who handle the calls. Or the car, the electric car, which you have seen at the beginning of the presentation. That was just too much for one team. And they would have never hit the timeline that the market demands because of the competition to get that electric car out in time if it would have been just one team. So it was rather 100 people. Or another company where they share the strategy. This company, they build electric switches in very different environments. One of these electric switches go into the operating rooms of a hospital. And he wants that these switches, even if there is a power failure, that they don't go off. Yeah? So it's kind of like special switches which hold the power, whatever happens. And this company also builds switches when you plug in your electric car into a socket. They build these sockets. So these teams are totally independent. They don't really share a lot, but they share strategy. They share how do we get to customers. So that's what they share. So a lot of ideas that make sense if teams want to work together. And this is when we talk about organizations beyond a team. And I think that makes sense. But if we have these teams working together, we need to establish leadership and management on a higher level. Leadership means we need to discuss things like, are we building this camera? Are we building the Leica Q3 or not? Which will be the next generation of that camera. And it also needs to coordinate the heavy lifts, I've called them. Yeah, like when we want to get that electric car out of the door, we need to work together as a team that makes the engine, and as a team that makes the interior, and as a team that makes the chassis of the car. So, when we work together as teams, we also need to discuss how we do leadership and management between the teams. Now you could say, yeah, but that's not the problem of the teams anymore. I disagree. Because if we have self-managed teams, all the patterns that build onto these self-managed teams, they need somehow negotiation between leadership on the team level and leadership on the organizational level. And they also need negotiation about managing in the teams and managing between the teams. I put the most important patterns here. You might have seen all these patterns. The left-hand pattern I call the Siamese twin pattern. Yeah, is where we have, in this example, 3 teams, and they only have one product owner. Anyone recognizes that pattern? That's the left pattern. Yeah? I call it the Siamese twin pattern because the teams are connected with one product owner as one leadership head, you could say. The other pattern which we have in order to organize management and leadership on a cross-team level is the middle. I call it the fractal pattern because we have a complete team idea, and we have several complete teams with product owner and scrum master or flow master, however you want to call it. And then we kind of like see each team as an abstract person, and then we add one more scrum master and one more product owner to that as product owner and scrum master on a higher abstraction level. Anyone recognizes that pattern? Which one is it? SAFe uses that pattern, and Scrum at Scale is also fractal. And there's neither wrong or right about that. It's different solutions. And that already leads to where are the teams involved? Well, as an organization, you need to make decisions which pattern suits you better, for example. And the right-hand pattern, this is the very scary one. This is does anyone know the name? The holacracy pattern, where we have circles, where a bunch of people with a certain topic work together. Yeah, like all the product owners work together, all the architects work together, or all these scrum masters work together in a circle. In our company, of course, we use that crazy right-hand pattern, where you sometimes think, well, who's doing this stuff? I need to look that up. So, as an organization, you need to make decisions about that. And as a team, you need to be a citizen in this organization. So if you decided, for example, on the right-hand pattern, the circle pattern, you need to send your product owner, or your product owner of the team needs to go to the circle, and he probably will come back with decisions that circle has made. And at least in our organization, that became difficult, because suddenly the team was saying, well, you made decisions in that circle, and now you're coming back, and we have to take that decision just because that other circle made it. Yes, but that's the point. Yeah, this is empowerment. If we establish circles or fractal pattern, whatever, we will have decisions being made outside the team. Yeah, because we send a delegate there. And then he comes back with a decision, and then we just, if we mean it was empowerment, then we need to take that. Or renegotiate the way these decisions are made. So again, I think it's important because kind of like a part of the team is part of that larger ecosystem. So teams need to be a citizen in that larger agile organization. And what I want to add to that, inter-team leadership and management is really complex. Complex is the power of 2. Yeah, because if we add more connections, the possibility or communication possibilities grow by power of 2. This is really becoming very quickly a big mess. It becomes complicated. You get surprises to the power of 2. You get risks to the power of 2. It gets messy to the power of 2. So when you send a guy or a gal working in that overall organization, that guy or gal should be or understand that this organizational complexity is messy. It won't go away. It's messy by ON square. That's kind of like a big dragon. And if you have a guy or a gal fighting in the organization, that big dragon, so be a little bit respectful because it really is a big dragon. Yeah. So kind of like sometimes if the decisions in the overall organization seem to be more chaotic and messy, that is true. You won't fix it. You can't fix it. It's a matter of the nature that the organization is much more complex than the simple team. So just be respectful of that. That would be really helpful for the guys and gals you send there. So that would be my concern here. Okay, so this was kind of like management and leadership if we look at the overall organization. I think now looking a little bit at the agile transformation, I think there are certain challenges. And again, I think the team are part of that challenge. So if we look at agility, teams need to take responsibility for self-management and leadership. And the point here, the most important point, I think, is it's a free choice. When we look at this responsibility process, which some of you might have read, you know that taking responsibility is a free choice. But it also means that if you want to work in an agile organization which builds upon teams taking that responsibility, you really must ask yourself, do I want this responsibility? And if your answer is no, don't go in an agile organization. And if your answer is yes, which is then good for the agile organization, but then also really remember that it was a free choice and take it in good and bad times. And probably the first thing which you need to have is, of course, motivation for the product you are building. But then if you're not motivated for the product your company is building, maybe again, it's a good idea to move on. So 2 things I think teams really need, and also the individuals in the team need to do themselves. So the first challenge. The second challenge, I think, is that current managers and leaders must trust the teams to handle management and leadership. That's maybe not true if we are growing an agile organization. This comes all natural to us. But a lot of organizations are in this transition phase. They want to become more agile, at least our customers, the customers which we have. And then we need to shift from what the current managers and leaders are doing, the current people are doing, to the responsibility of the teams. And I think it needs 2 things that this trust is being built. One is repeated positive experience. We people, we learn from positive experience. It doesn't help telling someone, hey, you and your team, you really need to be responsible for your own destiny. That's kind of like, can you put that on a wall? But that doesn't change things. What changes the way we work is that we try things out. And then we look at that and see, hey, yeah, this works well. I had, for example, in that call center, they first were beginning with teams that were very much managed. from the outside. And then the team started pulling decisions into their team and tried out if that works. And they made several iterations about how the organization, how these teams could work more for themselves. For example, decisions about who goes on holiday, decisions about who will be on duty on which day, decisions about who is taking a call on who is not. And they made experiments about that, tried that out, and really discussed after, for example, 2 weeks trying that out, how did that change work for us? And also for the current management position which they had. And if we repeat that, and if we make repeated positive experience, then we people learn. And then I, as the classic manager, will probably trust, hey, this is another pattern that could work. And then I start trusting the team. And with mice, we need 12 positive repetitions. So I think for humans, it's probably even more often. So this is repeated positive experience, which helps the current situation to change. But another thing, in order that current managers and leaders trust the teams, is psychological safety. Psychological safety is that you're safe to, for example, learn and to make mistakes, that you're safe to belong as a person, and that you're safe to maybe also challenge things. And the fourth one is safe to collaborate. Now you could say, yeah, for the manager it's not so difficult. Yeah, we have the top management that gives psychological safety to the managers. Yeah, but I think another part of psychological safety is coming from the teams to the manager. If we run around the organization saying, oh, these stupid managers, we need to get rid of them. Yeah, how about safety to belonging? You just scrap that. Yeah, so also from the teams, give time to learn. Make sure that the people who are currently, for example, in those positions, that they understand that it's not them as a person, but the role which we might rethink. Yeah? So psychological safety is coming from a 360 degree angle, not just from one side. Make sense? Okay, that's another challenge, I think. So help current managers and leaders trust the teams to handle the management and leadership by positive examples, repeated positive examples, and also by the teams ensuring that there is psychological safety to discuss new management positions. The third challenge, and that kind of like builds upon that, is we really need to rearrange management and leadership in a concrete, precise way. What does that mean? For example, here we have the current team leader as the position. If we want to rethink that, what can we do? We need to take the leadership and management tasks, the little L and M's at the top. Yeah, we need to take that kind of like apart and kind of like discuss, okay, what is that person doing? What does his job mean? Yeah, and then kind of like build new roles or perspectives from that. For example, it could be the product owner and flow master, whatever you choose. Yeah, so this gives new roles. But it also means, because the safety of belonging, that Lisa, who's maybe currently the team leader, also gets a chance to find a new job. Yeah, and that needs to be done. And for example, this delegation poker cards, which some of you might know, delegation poker cards are a technique in order to discuss these leadership and management tasks and to discuss, well, who is taking these now if we don't have the position of a team leader anymore? And we really need to discuss these things on that level, because we can't just let leadership and management go away. Yeah, and these discussions, these cards, are made that you as a team can make that decision. And the fourth challenge, I think, is that managers and leaders on all levels need to apply these agile techniques. It sounds very simple, because on the team level you might say, yeah, but we are doing that. But even on the team level, I sometimes think, yeah, but another retrospective, that's not the point. The point is about looking at the flow, having mathematical data about maybe lead times. Yeah, really discussing what is the work in progress limit you have on the team. But on the team level, I think we're doing a good job. It's not that bad. But I think especially if we look at scaled agile, at the whole organization, I think we are totally screwing up on that point. Yeah, all the teams who really understand flow, who might even talk about work in progress limits in their teams. And then suddenly we do scaled agile, we have this PI planning from SAFe, and suddenly we have these milestones back. And I have no clue why that is happening. No clue. No one wrote that. I should have gotten charts, but suddenly they reappear. Yeah, so maybe it's in us that we like this waterfall because it looks so secure. Yeah, because a world without uncertainty, of course, is very appealing. It sounds stable. So whenever we get into these larger agile setups, we suddenly seem to forget all about agile, which we've learned in the teams. So the big appeal here to the teams is, please, dear teams, uphold the stuff you've learned when you work together. Don't go back to waterfall just because it's 2 or 3 teams. And it's really up to you, teams, to hold the techniques you've learned and scale the techniques you've learned and not undo all that knowledge suddenly because it's just larger. And I know it's difficult because it's this squared complexity and it's a big mess if it becomes the whole organization. Yeah, but still try to uphold what you've learned and make the Kanban on the overall organizational level and not just in the team, for example. Okay, so it's the 4th challenge. And I think in all the 4 challenges, you as a team can really help. Oops, wrong direction, sorry. So, long story short, as I said at the beginning, I think, my opinion, teams as a nucleus of agile organization and of agile management and leadership. So, first addition to that sentence, own it. Really own it. Second big sentence, be a citizen if it's a larger organization. As a team, be a citizen in the agile organization. So put yourself into or play your part in the overall organization and also help taking decisions of the overall organization back into your team. Yeah? And the third part, tackle the challenges also from the team side, especially if it's an agile transformation. An agile transformation won't work if you as your teams don't do your part in it. So this was my appeal, because I really think that the agile organization depends on the teams doing really management and leadership. So this was my, please dear teams, do that. And I have a little card here, which is the last slide. Has nothing to do with the presentation, but I have 10 of those. Because change is difficult, we made a little map of change. And you find in the map things like the continent of change on the left-hand side, in the middle the bleak forest, which you know from Lord of the Rings, and all the people in the bleak forest get lost, like the changes and the good ideas. On the right-hand side, you see the continent of stability, where all the things are working well and stable, but of course we want to change things, and so we have a little ferry which starts over here with new ideas, which land over here, and then need to go all the way back to new stability. And yeah, I have 10 of those, so if anyone wants that, first comes, first served at the end. But before that, I'm closed, I'm finished.